Hello everyone, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Michael. Today I'm going to show you how to make a key lime pie. I was in the store the other day and I found these nice little key limes here. So we're going to turn these into a key lime pie. So let's get started. So I'm going to set these to the side. We'll come back to these in just a minute. We're going to start with our graham crackers because we're going to be making a graham cracker crust. And I've got my 9-inch pie pan here, and this is just a regular size one, not the deep dish, just a regular size 9-inch pie pan. And we're going to put that to the side. I've got my food processor here. I'm going to take my graham crackers that I've got here, and again that's 1.5 cups or 185 grams. I'm going to put them in here to crush them up. If you don't have one of these, you can put these into a Ziploc baggie and then take a meat tenderizer mallet. You can do that and bang the bag there to break those up. Or if you don't have one of those, you can just break them up with your hand. But I'm going to put them in the food processor. It's a little bit easier that way. Now that we've got our graham crackers into the food processor, we're going to just give those several pulses until we get that broken down. We want that to be this, looks like the texture of maybe sand or cornmeal. But if you don't have the graham crackers and you want to use the Biscoff cookies, you can definitely do that. That would be a nice addition of that. But just check the sweetness of those. Those seem like they're a little bit sweeter than these, and you might not need as much sugar in that. So definitely check the sugar level when you're getting ready if you're going to use something other than the graham cracker ones. So let's turn this on and get this broken down. All right, these are all broken down now. This looks really nice. So I'm going to use that for my texture. I wanted to show you that. And now I've got a 1/4 cup of sugar, or this is 50 grams. I'm just going to put this in here together with this and just pulse this through. You can also just whisk it together if you don't want to pulse it together with that. All right, we've got the sugar in there. Let's pulse that together. All right, that looks nicely mixed together now. That makes it a little bit easier instead of having to break out another tool there as far as a whisk goes, but definitely you can do it either way you like it. Now I've put that all into a bigger bowl here, and I've got 6 tablespoons of that's 85 grams of unsalted butter, and this is melted, and I'm going to put that together and we're going to combine that up. And let's just take a spatula and just kind of mix that together. All right, that looks good. Everything is combined together now. If you can just take your hand, what you want to do is when you be able to push it together and it stays together like that, then you know that you've got enough butter in it. But if it's not, you might need to add a little bit more butter to it. But this is holding together really nicely. So we're going to move on now to our next step. Now that we've got that butter incorporated into our graham crackers and our sugar, I'm going to put that into our pie pan now. And while we're doing that, you want to make sure that your oven is preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, or that's 175 degrees Celsius. And just want to kind of spread that out a little bit. And you can get in there with your hands and move it around to the sides. That way we can get that well built into the center of our pie. Now I'm going to take the side of a measuring cup and I'm going to use the forefinger of my other hand here. And I want to press that in there as tight as I can get that. That's one of the problems that a lot of people have with these when you're making these graham cracker pie crusts, is you don't get it in there, packed in there really tight, and then they collapse on you. So definitely give that a good press in there so we get a nice firm packing on those graham crackers. Now I've got the graham crackers packed into this pie pan. I'm going to put that onto one of these baking trays here. I'm going to put that into that preheated oven. That's 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius, and I'm going to bake this for 8 to 10 minutes. And I'll be right back. We'll start working on our filling. All right, I've got my graham cracker crust now out of the oven. I'm going to set that over here to the side, and we're going to start working on our filling. And while that's cooling down just a little bit, you want to make sure that your oven now, you want to turn it down to 300 Fahrenheit, or that's 150 degrees Celsius, and that way that can start cooling down. This is going to be a low and slow bake on these. It's like a custard pie or cheesecake. You want those to cook really slowly, and you want to leave your pie pan on the baking sheet because we're going to bake it on that as well. All right, I've got 4 key limes here. I'm going to zest those, and we need 1 tablespoon of our zest to go into our filling. So I've got my planer here because these are so small and your fingers get really close to that planer. I'm going to put on a glove just to make sure that I don't lose any skin off of my fingers on that. So this is one of these metallic gloves. I can put the link in the description box if you want to see how those are. That way, if you're using a zest or a planer, you won't get down too close on that. So this is a little safety measure with that. So let's go ahead and zest our key limes now. We need 1 tablespoon. All right, I've got my tablespoon of my zest now. That took 7 of these. I could have probably got away with 6 of them, but 7 is what I use today. So definitely use the little gloves for safety. If you don't have those, I'll put the link in the description box. You can go check those out. So now, let's get started juicing our key limes now, and I need a half a cup of my key lime juice, or that is 120 milliliters. And I've got a sieve here with a measuring cup under it, and I'm just going to cut those open and get that started on those. Now these do have seeds in them, so that's why we want the sieve for that there. And I've got a lemon juicer here. If you've got another type of thing, you can definitely do that. But I'm going to squeeze these until I get my half a cup, or 120 milliliters. All right, now I've got my lime juice here ready to go. I did get that half a cup out of there, and thankfully I got the sieve on the top because of the seeds. We'll set this to the side, and now we'll start working on our eggs. So key limes are in season for me now, but if you're watching this video and they're not in season, you can definitely use limes, just the regular limes that you see here. And if you can't find the key limes, definitely use the limes if you've got those available to you to use. So now let's start working on our eggs. I've got 4 eggs here, and these are at room temperature, and we need to separate the egg whites from the egg yolks. We're going to be using the egg yolks in our filling, but you don't want to throw away the egg whites because we'll be using those in our meringue. So definitely get something to put those in. I'm going to put my egg whites away, and we'll use these when we get ready for our meringue. We've got our egg yolks now in our bowl. I'm going to take a whisk and just whisk my yolks together just to get them all combined. Now that I've got my egg yolks combined together, I've got 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. That's a 14-ounce can, or 390 grams. And we're going to add that right into our eggs. Now I'm going to take my whisk and just mix that together now. Now I'm going to add in my lime zest now. We'll just put that into the mixture just like that. And I've got my key lime juice, and we'll add that in. Now I've got my homemade vanilla here. If you've never seen how to make vanilla, I'll put the link in the description box below. I'll put that video down there. You can go check that out. We need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now I'm going to take my spatula and just give that a good combine. All right, I've got that filling combined now, and I'm going to get my pie pan back over here. Just want to make sure it's not hot so I can touch it. And now we'll take our filling, and we're going to put it right into our graham cracker crust. All right, that looks absolutely wonderful now. Everything is spread out evenly. I'm going to leave this on this baking pan here, put it back into that oven, 300 now, and we're going to cook it low and slow for 30 minutes. And what we want to do with that is you just want to see the outside set on it, and the inside should be jiggly still. So when you shake it, it'll be jiggly. It will continue to cook once we pull it out. So we're just looking for the outside edges of your custard there in your pie to be set, and the rest of the pie will be jiggly. So 30 minutes, and I'll see you back. Everybody's oven is going to cook a little bit differently, so keep a watch on it. I am back, and I just pulled my key lime pie out of the oven. I wanted to show you what that looks like, so you can see that it's still a little jiggly where it needs to set up. So I'm going to leave it here for about an hour. I'm going to transfer it to a wire rack, and I'm going to let it sit here for an hour to start cooling down. It will continue to cook for that next hour and completely set up on you. At that point, you want to just let it sit for 4 hours before you start putting it on anything on the top. I've got some meringue that I'm going to show you how to make. It's an Italian meringue, and I'll be putting that on the top. So we're going to let this cool here on a wire rack that will continue to cook and set up for the next hour. And then if you want to, you can put it in the refrigerator once it's cooled down, and let it sit in there until you get ready to put your meringue on the top of it. And I'll see you back, and we will continue on with the next step of making our meringue. I am back, and my pie has chilled down. I wanted to show you what that looks like. That looks absolutely delicious. And now that that's chilled down, let's get started making our Italian meringue for the pie. Now let's start making our Italian meringue. So I've got those 4 egg whites that we left from earlier, and those are back at room temperature. You want to make sure those are at room temperature when you get ready to whip those up. And I've got my stand mixer here. We'll be mixing that up in. And I've got cream of tartar. I need a half a teaspoon of that. So the attachment that I'll be using for my stand mixer today is going to be the whisk, and we'll put that on right now. And I'm going to whip these up till they're at soft peaks. I'm going to turn that up on high and give this a whip until we're at soft peaks. Let's check on our meringue now and see what that looks like. So that looks perfect where we're at with that now. Let's move on to the next step. Now for our Italian meringue, I've got 1 cup of sugar, and I'm going to put that into this pot. And to that, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of water. And we want this to come up to a boil. I'm going to give this a stir around. And we want this to come up to 240 degrees Fahrenheit. And that should happen really quickly. All right, my sugar's up to 240 now. I'm going to turn that off and we'll bring our egg whites back and we'll move on to the next step. All right, now that we've got our sugar ready to go, I'm going to turn our egg whites back up on high. And then I'm going to pour the sugar down the side of the bowl. All right, that looks good. I'm going to turn my mixer off and we'll check to see if we've got some good peaks here with our whipped cream and take a look at that, how incredible that looks. We've got nice stiff peaks. So let's get our pie back over here and get our meringue on the top. All right, our meringue is looking incredible. I wanted to show you that again. Let's get that out of that beater there. We want every bit of that for our pie. And I'm just going to take a spatula here and just scoop out some of it, put it right in the center. And we'll put the whole thing around the pie. I'm going to leave a little bit of an edge around the outside of it. And we'll mount it up here in the middle. All right, let's just put a few little peaks in there with our spatula. All right, now that we've got our meringue on the top, I want to show you what that looks like. That's absolutely incredible there. Who doesn't like a lot of meringue on their pie? So I've got some of these key limes here, and I'm going to zest some of that on the top of that. That looks absolutely incredible, and those stiff peaks on that meringue is really nice. I know you're going to love this. I'm going to clean this mess up. I'm going to go get me a knife, and I'm going to cut me a piece of this, and we'll have a nice taste test. I am back, and I got me a nice slice of this key lime pie. It looks absolutely delicious. I wanted to talk to you about the meringue that I use on top, why I chose the Italian. The Italian meringue is the most stable of the meringues that you can make at home. And that cream of tartar that we put into those egg whites is going to help that really bind together so that it stays nice and fluffy and aloft. And then once you cook that sugar and put that in there and then blend it back up, mix it together, that's what makes this really stable. So if you've seen a lot of the homemade ones that you've made before, maybe in the past you've seen some of them where they collapse, definitely try the Italian meringue, as it's going to be the most stable of all of them. So you can see here that we've got a nice height on this and it's still holding very nicely. And let's give this a taste test and see what it tastes like. That looks absolutely incredible. That nice crumb on the bottom of that from those graham cracker crust. That nice color that we've got on our pie in the middle. And that nice whipped topping on the top. Absolutely delicious. I love that tartness that the pie has in it from those limes. And I love the sweetness that the topping has added to it. It's just the right combination of the two. We got a little bit of sugar in that graham cracker crust on the bottom of that also. Looks really good. Tastes even better. I'm going to give this another piece and give it another piece of this pie. That just melts in your mouth. I know you're going to have to try this recipe. If you like this content, maybe you might consider giving me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And while you're at it, check out one of these other two videos over here on the side. You might find something else you like. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave me a comment. I want to hear how your key lime pie turned out. And I'll see you in my next video. I know you're going to try this one. Bye-bye now.